Hi, Stephen. Welcome to our Home Service BC podcast. Thank you for joining me today. Another
Thanks.
podcast, another test.
This is good.
This is awesome. All right. I have the script as always here. So, yeah, give me a short introduction about yourself, Balzers Brushing. What are you guys doing? What's your expertise? Tell me a little bit this
Sure.
story.
Yeah. My name's Stephen. I have a company called Balzers Brushing. We're a painting contractor, kind of serving the Fraser Valley, sort of custom homes and commercial painting and some direct to homeowner stuff is kind of what we.
Okay, awesome. How long are you doing this for? Like, how long is the business?
Well, despite my youthful, glow, it's been about 18 years of having this business and another couple of years prior to starting.
You used to work somewhere and then you started your own business?
Yeah, I worked for a couple different companies, two different companies for about a year and a half prior to starting.
Okay. What inspired you to start Balzers Brushing?
Well, I think working for the two companies I worked for, they were really different, and they had some really positive parts and some what I what I felt were pretty negative parts as well. And so I was like 23 or whatever, and I was like, these guys are idiots. There's got to be a better way, like use the good parts of this company and the good parts of this company, because they had really strong parts, but their
Yeah.
weaknesses were ridiculous. And so it's
So
just like,
what was
there's got to be
yeah.
a middle ground here.
So what was the ridiculous thing about like
Oh,
what
okay. So the
like
first guy I worked for, very production focused, very efficient, highly skilled, horrible with people. Like
okay.
he would tell people to get out of the house. We were painting spec homes. And so he was painting for one builder, but then sometimes they would be sold and the people would wander through them in the final stages. And he would literally, kick them out of the house. And even as like a
Okay.
22-year-old at the time, I was like, they might want some painting done at some point. Like this might not be the best play, right? And then
Yeah.
I worked for a different guy, or a company, and he had a really good career, really good staff, but he like very disorganized. So he was really good with people, but we would show up on a job site not knowing if we were alone or with other people. So I would be 5,000 square foot custom home, new build alone, and have no answers for the builder of like when this is going to be done or anything, like we were flying around blind completely. So they both had really positive parts, but I was like, we can match this production with some interpersonal. Like, I feel like this could be pretty good. So
Okay.
that's kind of what
So
inspired it.
that's basically Balzers Brushing is like painting, but with an emphasis on interpersonal relations and also organizing production and everything related to that. How do you do that? How do you organize your stuff, and how do you also create a relationship with the clients and everyone else?
Yeah, it just seems like there was just these really tangible weaknesses with a lot of painting contractors. And that wasn't really what I was thinking when I was initially starting. I was just like, there's some positive, some negative. I can probably do this. And so I started, but then, over time, seeing that this is a pretty common trend where either
Mhm.
the company's very good on the production side, like they're good at
Yeah.
actually producing the work, or they're good on like the marketing and people side, but then there's like a big fall off with the other. And so yeah, being able to grow our company to a point where I can focus more on customer facing things, network marketing or whatever, like lead generation kinds of activities, and put some tools in place, some software in place for our crew to not be flying blind, to not know what's happening, to have really clear parameters for them to be able to go and be the technicians, right? So we found that that's worked really well, and it's not a common landing place for painting contractors that I've come across.
Yeah. So what's the benefit if you have to explain to a potential client or a homeowner, what's the benefit of them using you?
Yeah, benefit would be like a surprise-free experience. So you're going to get a detailed quote. You're going to have a schedule like discussed during the quoting process. What's your actual goal here, right? So do you want yeah, whatever that is, if it's timeline, if it's budget, if it's, quality, like what are we aiming at, right? And then
Hmm.
and then being able to pass that on to the crew so they can actually produce on what the target is, right? So for example, if we're talking to a commercial contractor, their goal is going to be really different, likely, in my experience, than a custom home builder, right? Commercial
Hmm.
is like more timeline, like we want to open this store, right? So we need to know that you're going to have, the painters available to be able to do it in this timeline. Whereas the homeowners, like they're living in this space, they're going to notice everything. Like quality usually is way up there. So that's another thing we can do. We can move the needle from those different things, like kind of hit different goals for different clients, right?
So if somebody hires Balzers Brushing, basically what you're promising is that this is a more they can be in touch with you. This is a more interpersonal kind of relationship kind of company. We are more organized. You can be on time, and depending obviously on what they need, it's going to be also if it's like a custom home or people are living there. That's you give more emphasis obviously in the quality, but also you honor the quotes and everything else. So basically, you can have a fully professional painting company with the interpersonal touch.
Yeah, like, and people you might actually want to have around. That's
Okay.
another beauty part of the painting industry and lots of trades, I would say. But there can be a low barrier to painting, and so there is a good amount of riffraff, I would say. And so, like, you don't necessarily want that
Yeah.
guy in your house, right? So, kind of our crews are people I would trust with my own family and my own daughters. Like, I would have no hesitation around. And so I kind of that's the litmus test for hiring. Would I have them in my own house with my family, with me not in the mix, like with me away, right? So
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Got it. So trust is also one of the
yeah,
things that trust professionally. Awesome. What's the main service or the main service that you offer, and what sets you apart? I think you already talked about that, but what's the main service? Like who you what's your ideal client?
yeah, we're aiming at a few. We have our hands in a few different areas. So we do kind of started with custom homes and large scale renos, and we still do a good amount of that.
Yeah.
So that the client for that would be general contractor building or a reno contractor building new homes, generally custom homes. So that's one. And then the commercial GCs who are doing tenant improvements would be
Hmm.
would be the one we're probably hyper focused on right now in terms of changing out a storefront or whatever in a mall or in a standalone building, that kind of thing. And then direct to homeowners who are just changing the colors of their house. That would be another client. So whether they're doing like a small reno on their own or they're just updating the current, colors and wear and tear on their own house. So kind of those three things.
To client, and they do interior, exterior, both.
Yeah, yeah. Into like the season definitely ends. We go pretty hard May to September with doing exterior stuff. Meanwhile,
Hmm.
we're doing interior that whole time.
The whole.
But then it gets a little wet. It gets a little hard to schedule. So really, kind of October till end of April, we're inside.
Okay. So, yeah, one thing that I guess a lot of people don't know, or maybe they don't know, but I don't know, is that you can actually you can work inside. Like interior painting happens all the year around.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. So I've never tried to be exclusively exterior, even during that summer season, just
Hmm.
for that reason. Like this comes to an end and then you want more to go on. Yeah, that's a distinction too, I would say, between a lot of companies. They'll hit outside really hard, but not really very forward thinking in terms of like
Hmm.
this will end and then who are your interior clients? So we keep those relationships going.
Perfect. Can you share a memorable project or success story?
Well, I have a memorable, like, not necessarily in a great way, but like it's funny. I think it's funny. So
Okay.
this was a staff that we don't have with us anymore. He didn't last very long, but I was showing him walking around with him on a exterior project. It was a townhouse. There was like in-ground pool and hot tub for this townhouse complex, and we were doing some staining. Anyway, so I'm wandering around the property and I'm showing him stuff, and we're walking around the pool deck and hot tubs and whatever. And this is like early April. It's like 6 degrees. Like it's gonna warm up, but it's like it's not warm at this moment. and he's half asleep. It's like Monday. This was a while ago. We had like lower caliber staff at this moment. And instead of actually wandering around the whole place, I was just like pointing out like over there, like that post and this post, whatever. And I stopped walking and he just kept walking and he walked right into the hot tub. So in ground hot tub, he just went fully in up to like his neck. He's fully underwater. And then now he's wide awake. He was pretty groggy during the walk around. Now he's all fired up. And so he pops out, expletive, pulls out his phone. He's like, "Oh, my phone." I was like, "Ooh, that's not good, actually." So then, phone works. I give him like 5 seconds, and then I was like,
Yeah.
"Did that feel kind of nice?" So yeah, he dunked himself into. There was like a little thin hot tub cover on, and he just walked right on, thinking it was gonna hold him. So that was memorable. That's a good one.
It's definitely memorable, but something that is more tailored to your services, like something that I don't know, something you did on time, on or like I
Yeah, like
assume
I would
everything's
say
on time. Or
we're at a job today where we are actually taking over midstream on an exterior about this is a new build
Mhm.
and doing the inside of it as well. That the prior painter had maybe 20% done of it, and they had a boom lift there, and they had smoked the metal roof of this house, which they're a little tricky to drive, but like had really like was grinding on this roof and really damaging it. The homeowner confronted them on it and said like, "Hey, like you're hitting the roof," and they just fully denied it. They didn't own the mistake. They were quite abrasive or whatever. And so the homeowner asked that they, you know, asked the GC to get them off site. So we're coming in. So now we're taking over the project. It was pretty funny. I met them there today, and the homeowner and my painter, they're both volunteer firefighters in the same thing. She actually was there at it was a fire rebuild. She was actually there putting out the fire when it burned down. And like they worked together in the same auxiliary fire hall. So which was
Okay.
wild. So that was a pretty great example of like prior company poor rapport or, like no trust basically or eroded or whatever. And then a bit happenstance, but like our crew is getting along well. So this isn't isolated. We've probably
Yeah.
in the last year, we've probably picked over like 3 or 4 projects like
Oh,
midstream
okay.
from other companies that had really poorly executed. And then they just were so fed up with them that they like different people, but like had to remove them from.
Basically, like part of success stories or memorable projects are when other people actually trusted you and you took over a project that another company started. So you have a trust, you have professionalism there, and that's why basically people saying, "Hey, I'd like you to take over the project."
Yeah, and it's
Awesome.
interesting because generally in that context, the people are pretty like gun shy, right? They just had a terrible experience from a painter, which is like
Yeah.
quite common, unfortunately. And so like, yeah, it would have been easier had they just called us in the first place. But we're here now and like what like we just make the best
So
of it,
and
and then try to have it be like, okay, painters aren't all terrible. It's just
yeah,
certain ones aren't who you want to be with, right?
and that goes to my next question. What's your number tip for homeowners when they hire a painting business? And I guess the number tip would be first they call you.
Yeah, save some heartache and just go straight to Balzers Brushing. I would say on a like general specific note would be um if the quote you're getting is not detailed, you can expect a bunch of surprises later. So if it's
Mhm.
a pretty generic, maybe there's like 1 or 2 lines, like you're probably in for a surprise later, right? So if you get a couple quotes, one has like 5, 6 line items, the other one has
Yeah,
like one. I would say a good rule of thumb is probably the more detailed one is going to be say, even if it's a higher number, it's likely going to be, more accurate. So
got
we
it.
see that a lot where people go with the lower number and then
Yeah,
they come back later or I see them
regret it.
randomly and it's like was not cheaper.
Yeah. What's a common mistake homeowners make that you'd like to help them avoid, apart from the one you basically just said, which is also like a tip, something that you've seen a lot of time that a common mistake between homeowners, among
I
homeowners.
would echo that again, actually. I would say like if you're choosing because of budget, choosing the low number is not necessarily the low number because
There's a reason why it's the low number,
yeah, like,
basically.
okay, this like an example would be like they quoted it 2 coats of paint and it needed 3 or 4, right? So now you're getting all these extras later, right? So having those kind of like you really compare apples to apples would be my tip, right? So if make sure, you know, all parties who are quoting have the same kind of information and are basing it off of that,
Hmm.
and if the quotes look pretty similar in terms of like details and that, then you can feel decent about it. But if one is, you know, 2 coats and one is capturing 3 coats, the 3 coats is going to be more money, but it's also capturing something that the other one didn't. So you're going to probably have a surprise with the other one.
Yeah. And I would also add that, let's say that, so the first one would be like make sure that you have a detailed quote. Second one is make sure that you're comparing apple to apples, meaning that you have, once you have the detailed quote, you can actually compare line per line and say, okay, this is what the person is offering. And then out,
And then
yeah.
also, sorry, and then also just having like, is there a referral here? You know, is there someone who knows one of these companies? Because if someone knows and can recommend one company and the other one is blinder, like you should give that more weight, right? Someone you trust is saying good things about this company, then
Yeah.
that needs to factor into your
And that brings me to the online, like basically the either website or reviews, which are two things that I think that are very, very important because sometimes what you do, one thing is how you do everything. So if you don't have a website and you cannot show your work and there's nothing over there, they're like, okay, well, how do I know what you're doing? I have no idea, especially right now. And then if you have no reviews, it's basically saying, it's like going in a restaurant saying, I'm the best. And then, well, nobody actually ate here before. Would you want to try it? I mean, maybe if you want to have an adventure, but not when you want to paint your house.
yeah, it's totally.
Yeah. Next question for you. How do you see your industry evolving in the next few years? Robots taking over? AI taking over? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think anyone knows definitively, but I think those companies kind of embracing change and kind of adapting with it. Like I was on holidays for 10 days and I was able to run my company from the east coast of Canada, right? So I had nothing to do with being on site or being close to any sites, but was able to, through technology, in this case Jobber, be able to know what was happening, be able to invoice, be able to put out some estimates, like be able to do the things to run. So I think that's just going to get like that separation is just going to get bigger from, you know, people putting a quote on a napkin or a piece of paper compared to those embracing change and embracing software. But yeah, I don't see robots coming. I think there's a lot of
You,
variables that would
the
be
only thing you can have a Tesla, Robo, whatever they call Optimus. Basically, you can program it. You go on, I don't know, ChatGPT, or there are some apps like Replit or Lovable, where basically you can create programs with that, and maybe you can load it on a robot like Tesla Optimus, and you can say, okay, this is the project, and this is what I want you to do, and then just like
There you go. There you go. I think softwares for like colors and stuff, that's been pretty good. I've definitely had clients show me like, oh, this is what, you know, whatever, showed me my current house could look like color scheme wise. And so I've had
yeah,
a few of those and that's been pretty, you know, to give someone a visual is helpful, certainly.
yeah, yeah. I was playing around with a new tool from Google Gemini where basically it's called Nana Banana, I think. And basically you upload an image and you can, it's like instead of working with Photoshop, you can make changes by uh, chatting with Nana Banana and
Mm.
it makes great images. I sent a picture to my parents where it's me and my fiance, and then in the background there are like lions. And they thought we were like in a zoo or something like that. And they were there debating that no, it's not a zoo because there are a lot of lions and then there are green trees. So it's crazy.
Yeah, 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 totally. I played around with some buddies and sent them some pictures from a really nice golf course, like near PEI when we were on holidays, and like they
Yeah.
were buying it for sure. Sasha, you were buying it. That's right.
All right. Rapid fire round. I have 4 or 5 quick questions here. I'm reading the script. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Favorite BC gateway spot?
Getaway spot?
Yeah.
Vancouver Island is great.
Well,
Yeah. Tainamera specifically.
perfect. I have to visit there. biggest DIY fail you've witnessed?
Well, I painted my own house with some non-vinyl safe paint and it worked like crazy. So that was like, I was like, oh, it'll be fine. And it was not fine. It was not fine. So self-inflicted.
What do you love to do outside of work?
Sports, team sports, and I'm into golf pretty good now too.
I've noticed that. I noticed that. One piece of advice you'd give your younger self,
Ooh, work-wise?
wherever you feel.
Yeah. I would say work-wise, like hire people sooner. That would have been good. Don't assume people won't be good staff. Yeah, that would have
And
helped.
generally speaking, so that's work wise. Generally speaking, what's a piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't live with like a lot of regrets and that, but I would, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what. Find a good wife, which I have a good wife. That's been having a good teammate to go through life with is awesome.
Chad that we had in the previous episode basically said, "I'd tell my younger self to go and buy 5 houses instead of
Oh,
one."
yes. 100%. I could have, bought some commercial space with a painter buddy, and
Yeah.
well, anyways, we didn't push as hard as we could have, and, like, that would have been yeah, that would have made my net worth quite a bit different at this moment, so that would have yeah.
How can homeowners reach you if they like your services?
Balzersbrushing.com, or, you can call the number on Google. It routes
Okay,
to Bethany, so I'm not actually sure what the number is. Don't call me directly, but balzersbrushing.com, and that's
they
great.
can find you there. Okay, and they can find you on Instagram, Google Business Profile, and everywhere.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Steven. Thank you for sharing your story with us.
Yeah. Thanks, Mario.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay.